What is up, Jabronis? JJ back here from Run Pure Bets, talking a little more MLB. Nice, right? To come off a Friday where you go 3-0. But that's the past, right? Here's what it is. Now we just kind of look forward to today, and it's a pretty big slate as well today. So looking forward to talking on some of these games and a few best bets for you guys as well. Yes, top of the morning to y'all on the West. As for us East Coasters, we've been up for a bit. But exciting day, right? You got NBA playoffs, nice little UFC card, baseball. Nice little fun Saturday and some tennis finals or semifinals if you're into that. Let's just dive right in, right? Mets, Diamondbacks, Carlos Carrasco, or Cookie Carrasco, as the cool kids say, Zach Gallen. So this game is interesting, right? It's not like excellent weather here in general. And look, on the Mets side, like you look at the lineups from this game, because we are fortunate to have them at this moment in time. Hold on one second. And the Diamondbacks lineup is yikes. Now, not to say they can't score runs. I'm sure they could in theory, right? But that is yikes. At least the Mets up and down have a decent lineup. But look, Zach Gallen, I know he's coming back off a delayed first start, or this would be a delayed first start, seemingly. But with that said, it's hard, like both these pitchers in general tend to have walk issues. Carlos Carrasco more than Gallen. But Gallen was like super legit. Was it 2019? We had the huge year. Definitely fell back a bit last year, but even like, you still know his stuff is good. He looked decent in spring. I mean, the velo was there. As for Carlos Carrasco, he's just kind of been trying to find himself since his little this injury-plagued recent few years for him. I mean, he was, a monster in Cleveland. Again, he just really had issues staying healthy. But when he's on, and he's real legit. The problem is the walks. If he can limit those, he probably has a good start today. Again, not the most ideal weather out at City today. So you would figure, total's low, but you would figure runs would be at a premium here. Likely stay away from the sides on this end, and we can move on to the next game where I'm going to have the best bet. So White Sox Rays, Kopech against Kluber, or Kopech against Kluber. So yes, this will be a best bet for me. I love this new price. I know that it seems like Rays money is coming in here, which is fine, because we're getting a better number. I actually really like laying the half run first five with the Sox. So it's plus 100 on DraftKings right now. So hold on. White Sox first five minus 0.5 plus 100 versus Rays. So what's up, Greg? What's up, Ray? Yeah, this is a good point. I mean, we'll take that up with Allie next week. But she's out here just stealing people's lines. Now I want to be clear. Jabronis is not my word. I mean, The Rock kind of started that, but I use it on every show, and she feels the need to start using it. We'll take her to court over it. Awesome. Glad to hear Jabroni boards. Love it. So DJ and Stoner, figure, late next week we might be smoking some buds on these shows, but we'll see. Anyway, so this game in particular, I look at this Rays lineup, and like, first of all, Kopech is elite versus right-handed bats. So who's really going to test him in this lineup? Brett Phillips, LOL. Wander Franco, obviously is a threat, but like, then you look up and down, like, Brandon Lowe, I guess, but like, once you get through the first two hitters, this lineup should feel very simple for Kopech. And I know his pitch count is typically an issue, and I don't think he's ever gone over 5 innings in an MLB start. But the Rays can certainly K and go down. And again, Kopech is just elite versus righties, and he's really good against lefties too. He's just got really good stuff. He's a flamethrower, right? Throws over 100. But and on the Kluber end, I can't express this enough. I am not a Kluber guy. I think Kluber struggles severely with right-handed bats. This has been shown by his reverse split numbers over the years. And who better than the White Sox to expose this with all their hefty righties? So yeah, really like the White Sox to jump on here early. The reason why I'm not full game is, look, I don't want this to become – I know the White Sox have a good pen and the Rays have a really good pen, so I don't want this to become like a more of a coin flip late in the game. But I really do like the edge we have early here with Kopech versus Kluber in the lineup. So, really like that price. And again, raise money's coming in, but it's just making the price better. So I'll be honest, I got it at minus 105. I mean, plus 100 is even better. So, go Sox. What's up, Best Pie Eater, Buzzer Beater, and Leroy? So, okay, we'll move on to the next game. So Blue Jays Athletics. So I said yesterday that while the Jays were minus 190-ish, it felt too low against this Athletics team. And now, of course, we're sitting at 220. Now, granted, we have a better pitching matchup here, right? Ryu versus Blackburn. Blackburn, you want to talk about running pure in his last start. I mean, this dude has been a woeful pitcher in the majors throughout his career. And he, to his credit, pitched really well against the Rays last time out. I think this is a good Ryu bounce back spot, though. I don't love anything in this game, again, because I feel like now the line's been moved to where it should be at about 220 here. I'd argue maybe it could be 230, 235. But once you go up in the numbers, past, 160, 170, you need a bigger edge than you would at like 110, right? Like, for instance, a 15-cent edge from 110 to 125 is not equivalent to 230 to 245, right? I mean, they're just not. So, you need a bigger edge as the line goes up, and I don't love the edge here in favor of the Jays. I do think that they continue to plate runs in this series, though. Even though yesterday was more of a lax game from them, this is a good spot for them. Blackburn off a really good start is likely to regress a bit. But we'll see. Maybe Blackburn's got new things in him. But again, we know baseball, right? You can find barrels and get outs, and you can break bats and get hits. So either way, I think the Jays are in a good spot to plate runs today. Goes without saying, right? It's almost pretty obvious, but I'm not buying into this Athletics start or anything like that. And Ryu likely bounces back here, but I will stay away. But I think it's going to be a popular play in parlays, right? Tagging the Jays in parlays. Not for me, but just saying in general. All right, Padres, Braves, Nick Martinez, Ian Anderson. So Nick Martinez leaves to play in was it the KBO that he played in? No, I'm thinking of the wrong pitcher. Sorry, who am I thinking of? I'm thinking of Tanner Houck, maybe. Now I'm getting myself all mixed up. Am I thinking of Nick Martinez? I think I am thinking of Nick Martinez, right? He's the guy that played in China, or one of them. Either way, looked really good there. Over his MLB career, though, has not been very good. But now, sports seemingly a new curveball. And he looked good in the spring, or decent in the spring. Looked good in his first start. How much do you make of it, though? I think either way, he's likely to be in a bit of a tough spot here against the Braves. But if he shows anything he showed out of the country in the majors this year, he's going to have a good season. And Ian Anderson had a bad start his first time out, but he's likely to bounce back as well, much like Ryu. But again, he plays this top-heavy Padres lineup. I know they don't have Tatis, but it's still a rough lineup to navigate through, especially 1 through 5, 1 through 6. You would figure runs get scored in this game, though. This is in San Diego, in that lovely pitcher's park. So home runs, you figure, would be a premium. I don't love anything about this game. It's got a lot of arrows going, different ways. Yes, I think Ian Anderson bounces back. Yes, I think Nick Martinez has a better season than he's been accustomed to. But time will tell on Martinez in particular. But look, both teams have live sticks. Pitcher's park. To me, I got this fair all around. Padres should be slight favorites, as they are, with the added nuances of Nick Martinez. But Ian Anderson should be able to figure himself out after his first bad start. But again, it's still early, right? You don't know if pitchers change mechanics or having issues with their mechanics. But as that sample size grows, you'll be able to see more of that. We'll move on. Royals, Tigers, Bubic versus Matt Manning. I am not a fan of either of these pitchers. I know Bubic, for whatever reason, the market seems to love him. A lefty that doesn't strike guys out. Granted, he plays a weak Tigers lineup here, so take that for what you will. But the Tigers do have a bunch of righties, which maybe could give him issues. But I'm not exactly in love with the idea of there being a lot of runs in this game. Matt Manning, felt like he was walking on eggshells in his first start. Even though he threw pretty well, it just felt like he got himself in and out of a few jams. But that's kind of his MO, right? I mean, he typically struggles to get guys out. He doesn't strike out a lot of guys either. 2 below average offenses, 2 below average pitchers. Nothing really to love about this game. Red Sox Twins, shame with Buxton, right? I don't know if the MRIs come back yet on him. But, hopefully it's nothing major. I mean, he's such a tremendous player. He's just got to stay healthy. So it's been a shame on that front. Sonny Gray going for the Twins. Tanner Houck for the Red Sox. Houck, another spot where you'd figure he'd bounce back. It was nice for us, right, to get that over home yesterday. Red Sox Twins over 10, especially late. It started out super good, right? But that's baseball. I think we had 6 runs in the first 2 innings, and then nothing like for the next 5. So, again, that's baseball though, but it was nice to get through to the Pens late. As for this one, look, the Twins lineup is definitely degraded without Buxton, but how much, right? I mean, this is probably in the line where Boston's like 135, 140. To me, these pitchers are relatively equal. I think when Houck is on, he is a really good pitcher. Sonny Gray, when he's on, he is also a really good pitcher. This total, I'll be honest, at 9.5 feels a little high with these two starting. I mean, both two pitchers can be volatile, but I know we turned around and bet the over yesterday. It's not like I'm betting the under here, but I do feel like there is some very slight value on this 9.5 under. But not enough for me to want to play, so I'll pass. Marlins Phillies, so nice to get that Marlins play home, right? First 5, almost sweat free. It was a 4-0 by the second inning. And then we kind of cruised from there. The Marlins ended up winning. This spot's a little different though, right? I mean, Trevor Rogers, Ranger Suarez. I like Trevor Rogers. I don't love Trevor Rogers. To me, I told you guys, I think like between Lopez and Alcantara, I mean, at some point the market's going to react or overreact to how good they are at home. It wasn't these last 2 games though, that's for sure, in relation to the market reacting or overreacting. Trevor Rogers though, to me, doesn't warrant this type of line. So I'm not continuing on this Marlins bandwagon. I know I've played them 2 straight days. But yeah, I'm off right now. I don't love this spot. I think the Marlins could win here. I don't love this price though. 120 feels high. All things considered. So, it's going to be a pass for me. I can't bet the Phillies though, with the Marlins finally finding their stride with the sticks. And now they're playing, I think Suarez is a lefty, right? Peter Suarez. Yeah. So you throw a lefty at a lineup with the Marlins and have some decent righty pop. So it's just a stay away spot for me. Total of 8. Again, you have 2 pitchers that are susceptible. Rogers is better, but you have 2 pitchers that are susceptible. But it's a big park. So, easy pass for me overall. Guardians, Giants. So I told you guys yesterday, I did like Rodon to throw well in that spot. There's just certain teams that will – there are certain teams that hit lefties well, and the Guardians are just typically haven't been one of them. And again, it's not like their lineup has changed all that much recently. Cal Quantrill is a guy I'm not a fan of. I don't think he's very good. I think he's a glorified relief pitcher. I know you might hear me say that often. I think there's a lot of pitchers right now in baseball that are glorified relief pitchers, guys that go 4 or 5 innings consistently. And or act as innings eaters that don't strike people out. Anthony DeSclafani though is better or is a good pitcher. I think anyway. I think he had got a little roughed up in his first one, but I like him. I like his stuff. So with that in mind, I would lean the Giants in this spot. I don't love it though. I think this, like for me, the Giants should be like $1.10 here. So the fact that Cleveland's minus 115 and the Giants are 105, like there's not a crazy edge on my end. And as for the total, 8 feels a little low for this park in this pitching matchup, but it will be cold today in Cleveland, so it's never fun hitting a ball in 40-degree weather. So I understand why the total's this low. And again, another easy pass on my end. Let me just check back in with the chat. I'll be honest, G-Sauce, I really don't. I think you can flirt around with it at times. You want to get a little silly and degen if you want. You can bet a few money line parlays. To me, it's not a sport where I do it. I occasionally do it in tennis just because of the way the sport is and, with the way breaks work. And, you can get a guy or gal that goes up early and never looks back. Baseball's a little different in that respect. So, it is a game with a little more back and forth at times, especially like on hard courts than tennis. And I'm only compared to tennis because tennis is the only sport I really parlay in. So, yeah, it's the short. I just think you're always minus EV parlaying in this sport. To answer your question, the short answer is no, I don't parlay in the sport. Came back 10 minutes ago. He's only a what? Okay. So that's good news. That's good news, especially for the Twins. Because Buxton, even last year was on a tear, and then got hurt and looked like he was about to have another big start to the year. So it's good to hear that he'll be back. Okay. So moving on. Pirates Nationals. So if you guys remember yesterday, I talked on Keller. Man, that dude can be tilting, right? You watch him strike out guys with really good stuff, and then you watch him just give up hit after hit after hit. We'll have that in reverse, right? Because yesterday in the first inning, he got mauled and then settled down a bit before getting taken out. Man, he is so tilting to watch because he's so good, but it seems like there's something going on there with his control or, I don't know, the mental game. But either way, Bryce Wilson, Josh Rogers. I don't know much about Josh Rogers. I do know, Bryce Wilson was relegated from the Braves, which says a lot, I think. But with all that said, this is a pretty ugly pitching matchup, I think, and not one I really want any part of. I think you look at a total of 9 at PNC. That's a relatively high total, right? Some of the highest totals you'll see at this park will be 9.5. You more than likely won't see a total at 10 at this park all season. You might. The weather would have to be really warm. There'd have to be really 2 gas cans and probably a big market team coming into to Pittsburgh. So I'll be honest. I know you have 2 bad pitchers, but this total feels pretty high. Because again, it's like I tell you right about park dimensions, right? Because in general, you have to create yourself a grid or a measurable scale of park dimensions, and where you'll no longer bet overs or unders on based on the number at the park. Because again, certain parks are just built for more runs. Certain parks are built for good pitchers and good fielding teams because of the way the layouts of the fields are and how big the dimensions are. And then how well the ball carries in warm weather. Pittsburgh isn't exactly a hitter's park, so when I see a total at 9 here, that's high. That's high, and I know it's seemingly showing 9.5 at some spots. Again, you have 2 bad pitchers, but you won't catch me all season betting it over at PNC at 9.5. I don't care who's pitching, because over time you more than likely will win money just blindly betting under when parks are at their ceiling numbers. And to that same extent, you could almost make a lot of money betting overs at parks floor numbers. That's a little different though than the overs, right? Because you could have 2 aces against 2 bad lineups at a park, and it's going to be very difficult to plate runs, right? I think the opposite is not as true though, right? Because you could have a team with a bunch of big bats and guys can ground and double plays and barrels can find gloves. So yeah, with all that said, you'll never find me betting it over. And there could be 30 runs scored today in PNC. It doesn't matter. I'll never bet an over at this park at 9.5. Orioles, Yankees. Who do we got going here? So Tyler Wells, Jameson Taillon, former Pittsburgh guy, right? Tyler Wells, I don't know much about this guy in general. I know that his MLB career has been relatively short, right? He hasn't exactly blown anything away, and he did not look good at all against the Rays. You'd assume he pitches a little better in this next start, but it's not like things are getting easier for him, right? Against this Yankees lineup. It was yesterday's game. The O's had a walk-off walk. Is that right? Right? Yeah. So interesting. The Yankees are going to be a team throughout this year that goes on skids, right? Because look up and down their lineup. This team is all big bats, right? So if their home runs aren't coming, it's not like this team's going to manufacture themselves runs, and you look at look at all season. If they've scored more than 4 runs in a game once this year. They've scored more than 3 runs in a game, 3 times this year? So offense hasn't exactly started clicking early on in the season. So I could see some love for the under here, but now I'm starting to think now that the line is starting to accommodate this, right? Because it's like I said, last week when you get a total of 9 at this park in Baltimore, different from the PNC, like the ball travels at this park in warm weather. Now it's not going to be super warm today. It's going to be, I think, in the high 60s in over there. And I'm not sure about the wind situation, but to me, I could see some value on the over if the Yankees sticks showed some sort of life. And anytime Baltimore plays a right-handed pitcher, it's just usually never fun. So I'm going to stay away for that. But, I wouldn't bet the under, despite how these teams aren't really hitting. I wouldn't bet the under in this spot. Because again, at this park, if I ever see a total of 7.5 or 8, it's almost, I don't want to say it's an auto bet over, but I'm definitely looking deeper into seeing if the over has value or more value. 9, you're somewhere in between, but you have 2 average at best pitchers. When you combine the 2 of them, Taillon's all right. Wells is not, but combine the 2 of them, I guess they median out to a slightly below average. Either way, though, teams aren't hitting. It's going to be an easy pass for me. And I can't lay 190 with the Yankees, a team that's just not hitting. Brewers, Cardinals, Adrian Hauser, Steven Matz. So we mentioned last week how Steven Matz, I think it was on Sunday, was like minus 220 at home, and that's just crazy. Now, Milwaukee with Hauser is minus 120 against Matz. I would argue there's some value here in the cards. I don't love the spot, though, for a few different reasons. First of all, I'm not a Steven Matz guy. I barely ever bet on Steven Matz. Look, he was rolling, whether it was last season or the season before. We had like a good stretch of games where he was pitching really well. I don't just like choose to fade him when he's pitching well. I don't like to back him. I feel like he always, it's never like a clean start from him, right? Like it's always like, 4 walks or, a bunch of barreled balls. And don't get me wrong, he's a good pitcher. I mean, he was the start of that Mets, 5 duo. What was that, about 8-9 years ago, maybe longer, with all of them, Harvey and Syndergaard and DeGrom, Wheeler. I mean, it's hard to imagine, right? All of them were on the same team. But either way, I don't love the spot. I think the Brewers getting a little too much respect here, but it's only a little bit, not much. So yeah, gun in my head, I would bet the Cardinals here as a very small dog. Okay, so Rockies, Cubs. Who do we got? I didn't skip a game, did I? Oh, I did skip a game. Rangers, Angels. Taylor Hearn, Noah Syndergaard. So it was nice to get the Angels home last night. It's like I told you, right? Like the Angels to be, minus 115, I think they were in that spot. To me was just silly. Now this is a little different though, because to me, I do think Taylor Hearn is a decent arm, which is different than what we were dealing with yesterday. And Noah Syndergaard, I think, is still a mixed bag. I didn't love him on the Mets. I think he's got, a lot to prove this year for his own sake. He's a great pitcher. I just, he had the potential to be like elite. And it felt like injuries plagued him a bit. And Joe Madden yesterday intentionally walking in a run was wild to me. It made no sense, and then of course they scored, I think 3 runs after that. I'm sure you guys, saw the play, or maybe if you did, maybe you didn't, but either way, he intentionally walked the guy with the bases loaded with 1 out. Super sharp. And I'm a Joe Madden guy, but that's like ridiculous. I don't care who's up. Like, what are we doing? Like Barry Bonds is not in the league anymore. So what are we doing? Corey Seager. We're afraid of Corey Seager in that spot. So either way, I'm not going back to the Angels here. I think that there was some value on Syndergaard in his last start. I don't think there's as much value here. I do cap this at Angels minus 125 myself. Or a little above 125 actually, to be honest. But it's not a spot we're targeting where it was yesterday, where I felt I had 20 cents of value. Here, it's not the same. Angels could win again. I don't have as much value on them today as I had yesterday. Cubs, Rockies, Senzatella, Leiter, Mark Leiter Jr. Imagine that. So Senzatella here is 130. I am not a Senzatella guy. I know he pitched okay last year. I am just not on the bandwagon there. And on the Cubs end, throwing out Leiter here, it'll be a bullpen day for them. I don't think we're going to find too many. I think later in the year the Rockies will likely be bigger favorites in this type of spot. But I just don't like Senzatella, so I don't. My numbers are always lower on him. So tough for me to love this, even at 130. To me, the line's about right. So, if you got in, I guess at a better number, sure, good for you, and you should have bet the Rockies. But at 130, it's an easy pass for me. I want no part of this Rockies team with Senzatella on the hill, in this spot. So over under is 12, which feels high for the weather there. But again, me not being a Senzatella guy and the Cubs trying to maybe platoon relief guys today on a bullpen day, definitely could be runs. Mariners, Astros will be my other best bet. This is under 7.5. This is for a few different reasons. So Verlander looked okay in his first start. And Chris Flexen did not. But still, I'm a Flexen guy. I think he's got really good stuff. And he's really good with his location. And I think that both these guys can find ways to mow through these lines. And both teams have good bullpens as well, right? So the other big thing to this game is this is going to be a very chilly game in Seattle, which, it makes I think it's going to be like 45, 47, which isn't like crazy cold, but overall, it's to me, it's an easy game to want to play the under at. To me, this should be 7. I know that both teams have great offenses. These are 2 really good pitchers on my end anyway. and you have two really good bullpens, and you have weather that favors the pitching. You also have two pretty good fielding teams as well, if you're into that kind of thing. But either way, really like the spot here. So that's minus 120 at DraftKings. So that's under. So that's Mariners versus Astros under 7.5. That's my other best bet. For today, I got one more game to go through. Of course, Jordan, glad you were on them. Mets first 5 minus a half. I don't mind. I like Zach Gallen, and I know some people are for against him in their own ways. When he's on, he's a really good arm. My issue is the Diamondbacks lineup looks so blah today, right? But yeah, I mean the Mets definitely have a better lineup. The Mets likely have the better starter. But again, Cookie Carrasco finds himself into the weirdest of jams at times. But either way, I don't totally mind it. I want to be clear. I don't totally mind it. I think you're overpaying a bit for Carrasco, if I could be honest, in this spot. But needless to say, I think it's I can't mind it. Can't mind it. Okay. Last but not least, Dodgers Reds, Urias and Hunter Green. They're just going to continue to hang these fat Dodger lines, right? I will say that maybe the Dodgers still aren't big enough, even at this number. But again, what do you make of it? I guess it really comes down to what you think of Hunter Green. I'm kind of indifferent to him. Like, I don't think he's as bad as he's looked. I know that he's been roughed up a bit, but I watch him pitch. I think he's got decent stuff. I don't obviously find he gives up like a lot of home runs, which is not ideal. But he's still relatively raw, right? I mean, by the way, I'm referencing his like AAA stuff. In the majors, maybe he's going to find himself into other issues or jams that end up giving him up a lot of home runs in general, especially the teams with pop like the Dodgers. But again, consider me for a AAA guy, consider me a decent Hunter Green guy. But not in love with this spot. I'm not laying 220 with the Dodgers here either. Urias pitched poorly his first start, but he's likely to bounce back a bit. And the Reds lineup, it's not like anybody's going to really test him there. Easy pass for me. As for the total, I think there might have been some value on the under if you got in early at 9 or 9.5. 8.5 feels perfect for this game. And I'll be honest, you're not going to find me betting many Dodgers games this year. They're not a team I bet often or against. I just kind of stay away from them. I think that they're a little too good for me to want to bet. They're a little too good for me to want to fade, and they're consistently a little too steamed for me to want to back. So yeah, easy stay away from me. So again, to recap, that is the White Sox first 5 lay the half plus 100. And the Mariners Astros under 7.5, got that last one minus 120. So yeah, ultimately, guys, gamble responsibly today. There's a lot of NBA or playoffs NBA. Again, a little UFC card, I believe, later as well, and MLB all day. So be sure to gamble responsibly. Stay safe. As always, run pure. I'll catch you guys tomorrow with Joey and Holden on Easter Sunday. Talking more bases.